Joined on the phone today by Judy Garland expert John Fricke. How are you today, sir?
Okay. Thanks for getting it all set up, Dustin. Just say, John, tell us about Judy, and you might as well go out for a pizza.
Well, yeah, let's start with that. I know you're the world's preeminent Judy Garland historian, so I got to ask, what is it about her, and I guess the movie The Wizard of Oz as well, that's got you so passionate about it?
Well, I saw that movie when I was a kid, the way everybody did, back in the era when it was on TV once a year, and there was no such thing as taping off TV and no such thing as home video, and it was such a national event. You know, you talked about it at school, didn't depend, or at work, didn't depend on your age. Everybody got swept up into that story. It happened to me when I was 5, the first time I saw it. And I already loved musical TV shows and musical movies, mostly Disney cartoons at that point. This is back in the 50s. But she just permeated me when I saw her as Dorothy, as she has countless billions of people. I had very encouraging parents back in Milwaukee who pointed out to me that she was an adult at this time, that she'd made other movies, that there were 40 Oz books in the series, and it just became a kind of a duo hobby that was never supposed to become a career. All the work projects and all that sort of thing I've been lucky to do have happened since about 1985, and there have been 7 books and documentaries and CDs and DVDs, and I think you're sitting there doing something that you love, so you will understand the emotional pleasure there is in doing work that gives you joy. And in this case, to spread the word about her and the kind of remarkable talent she was, it's just a privilege.
Yeah, and of course, we're here in Minnesota, so we kind of have a bit of an extra tie to Judy as well.
Well, I don't think that's an extra tie. I think that's the all-time tie. I've been to Grand Rapids, where she was born back in 1922. I've been there probably 10 times in the last 20 years to MC and lecture and share rare video, rare audio, whatever, at their annual festival every June, the Wizard of Oz Judy Garland Festival. So I have a great affinity for Minnesota, and then I grew up next door in Wisconsin. So I've lived in New York 41 years, but I'm always kind of a Midwestern kid at heart, as was she. I think that's what made her so believable as Dorothy. She was basically playing herself, a kid from the Midwest.
And I know the Get TV channel is adding the Judy Garland show to its lineup, and I think that's maybe a show a lot of people didn't even really know existed, that she had her own variety show back then.
Well, that's just it. It goes back 52 years now. CBS gave her the biggest talent deal in TV history. Mike Dan, who was the CBS VP of Programming, told me this when we interviewed him about 10 years ago. It was a $24 million deal to get Judy Garland to do a weekly show, because in 1963 she was at the absolute peak of her adult career. The Carnegie Hall album had been on the charts for almost 2 solid years, #1 for 13 weeks, 5 Grammys. She had top-rated specials, another Academy Award nomination for Judgment at Nuremberg, all in that 1961-62 time period. So they gave her the variety show, and she turned out against a lot of network interference as to, oh, well, we have to make her folksy, we have to make her this, we have to make her that. They kept getting in the way, which is why the show only lasted 26 weeks. But in spite of the admitted network interference, she turned out 26 really remarkable shows. And it's not only Judy at her singing and performing best, but the guests across the weeks, you know, it's Tony Bennett, Peggy Lee, Lena Horne, Count Basie, Mel Torme, her MGM compatriots like Mickey Rooney, Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, Ray Bolger, June Allison, Broadway people like Ethel Merman, Chita Rivera, Barbara Streisand, pre-Funny Girl. I mean, this is an amazing time capsule of what the great popular songbook was on television in 1963-64. And it has not been shown. All 26 episodes have not been seen on network television since the original airing. Get TV is using them, I'll just throw this in, to launch their new Monday night variety showcasing. They are doing the Judy Garland show every Monday night at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, they will do another variety special from the 60s or 70s. Next Monday, when it all launches, they've got Carol Channing and Pearl Bailey in a 2-woman TV special. And then at 10 o'clock, Judy at 8, and then at Judy at 7, your time, 8 Random Variety, 9 your time, they are going to show episodes of the old Merv Griffin show, the talk show where he had the best entertainers and politicians and musicians and writers as his guests. So it's a chance to see what TV used to be before it was all about editing and lip-syncing to pre-recorded music and flash powder and minimal costuming and maximum bad language. And do I sound like an old poop? But it's a different kind of entertainment where you went out and did it on sheer talent. The guest she had defined that, and she is the epitome of that.
Yeah, definitely very cool, and a who's who of performers at that time. And it's great to know that it wasn't taped over. You kind of worry about some of these tapes being lost or destroyed, and it sounds like maybe they were just sitting somewhere in a studio basement somewhere, waiting to be shown again.
If you knew the history, this ex-husband claimed to own them. This businessman claimed to own them. There were all kinds of lawsuits after Judy died over who should own them, and when a judge finally said, you own them, the person who was supposed to turn them over claimed he couldn't find them. They were missing for something like 25 years, and they were found in the crawl space of a home in New Jersey, put on an open flatbed truck and transported to Florida, 2-inch master videotapes in the sun, thank you very much. Yet somebody once said, God must be a Judy Garland fan, because they put these tapes on old-fashioned machines, and it basically looks like you're watching a black and white monitor of something that's going on live in the next room. It's extraordinary. And the chance to see her happy and at her peak and singing not only her hit songs, but the current big hits from Broadway shows like Gypsy and Oliver and Wildcat, the interplay with the guests. She's very funny. A lot of people only know her as a movie star. They don't know that she was this kind of witty and charismatic, even more so when she was just being Judy Garland. So these shows give a great chance to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we're on the phone today with John Fricke. He is the world's preeminent Judy Garland historian. And you mentioned the show only lasted about 26 weeks. Do you think it would have changed her career had it went on? And do you think maybe that kind of led to her untimely death a few years later, being canceled so soon?
I think that if the show had lasted longer, she would have lasted longer. I'm not going to make any prophecies about the last 5 years of her life, because she needed people she could trust to take care of her emotionally and financially, and she never found them, unfortunately. She had a great penchant for picking the wrong people to trust with her heart and with her finances. And I laugh because you can't do much else but that. She tried and tried and tried until the day she died to get ahead of that and above that. The fact that she wasn't able to is our loss, but again, when you think of the fact that she worked for 45 of her 47 years and did not only work that was acclaimed at the time, but is of that very small percentage of work of that time that has proved to be timeless and that we can still look at as out-and-out entertainment today, that's a pretty amazing legacy. The fact that the show only ran 26 weeks was not her fault. Again, CBS admitted, in later years, in hindsight, that the problems the series had in the ratings was that they kept dinking around with it and changing the format and trying to find ways to make Judy less Judy, which is so ironic because that's who they hired her to be. The saving grace is that they couldn't do it. You get out of the way, and she comes on, and she's Judy Garland, and as I say, it doesn't get better than that. They also threw the show away by scheduling it opposite Bonanza, which was in color, which was the top-rated series with an established viewing audience. And then when Judy couldn't top Bonanza's rating, although she did it with her first episode, as she had done with a special a year before, CBS refused to move her to another time slot, which was just crazy, because she was following Ed Sullivan on Sunday night, and 2 hours of variety, different though they may have been, was just too much. She should have been on a Monday or a Tuesday when the competition wasn't so great, and when she could have had a chance to provide some variety in the pattern of the scheduling. But for all the fact that her talent was pretty much immeasurable, often her bad luck was as well. And God bless her, we end up with, as the beneficiaries of all that she did, this show is preeminent on the list of what she achieved.
Yeah, it's great that it's finally going to see the light of day, and Let's go back to The Wizard of Oz for a second. I know it just turned 75 years old. You mentioned, billions of people loving the movie and still new generations seeing it for the first time. Was it tough, do you think, for Judy to kind of move on after that film came out? Or do you feel like she maybe thought she couldn't live up to that performance when she went on to do other things?
No, absolutely not, because Wizard of Oz was a success in 1939. Absolutely no question. Top 10 box office for the year, top 10 movie critics' best films of the year, Academy Award nomination as Best Picture. But she made many films in the next 11 years while she was at MGM that made more money than Wizard of Oz at the box office, that were equally acclaimed. You look at the picture she did with Mickey Rooney, the Let's Put on a Show in the Barn musicals, Meet Me in St. Louis, For Me and My Gal, one of 3 she did with Gene Kelly, Easter Parade with Fred Astaire, and then after she left MGM, Academy Award nominations for Star is Born and Judgment at Nuremberg. So her film career was, in retrospect, dated from The Wizard of Oz, no question, because that's the role that everybody saw on national television from 1956 onward. That is how people were first and are first introduced to her. But I don't think it was so much The Wizard of Oz that she felt she had to live up to, but the fact that she made that at 16. At 26, she still had to worry about being as good as she was at 16. At 36, she had to worry about being as good as she was at 26. At 46, when your work is preserved, when it's on film, on record, it's a lot to live up to. The amazing thing is that she did. You look at that arc of her career and the fact that, again, at 41 in 1963, she's given the biggest talent deal in television history. As late as 1967, she's selling out on Broadway at the Palace Theater for 4 weeks, and on a national tour on either side of that. Even the last concerts she did 3 months before she died, she played in Stockholm, where she'd never worked before. She got a 10-minute standing ovation at the end of the show. That was the kind of presence she had, the kind of... It's a God-given thing, charisma, but nobody had it any greater than she ever did. So, again, Wizard of Oz, in retrospect, was a high-water mark, but it was just one of many in her career. It's turned out, historically, to be the role that everybody knows.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I just read that there is maybe a Judy Garland stage show or a musical that's in the works. Is that right?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. It's called Chasing Rainbows. It's about Judy from age 4 to age 16. It takes her from her beginnings as one of the Gum Sisters of Grand Rapids in vaudeville. It starts in Grand Rapids, and it takes her to the pre-production days of Wizard of Oz. I have been a historian and consultant on the project since it began to formulate 6 years ago, and after several writers and readings and staged readings, it is going to open for the first time as a pre-Broadway show at the Flat Rock Playhouse in North Carolina in November, and then it has just been announced this week that it will open the autumn season next September at the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut. These are, in effect, pre-Broadway tryouts for the show. And it's an honest show, emotionally especially, tracing that 12 years in her life, but it features all the songs that she sang during that era, other songs that were popular, so it has a very traditional show business feel without being old-fashioned. And because everybody knows her story now, we can be more honest in the retelling, and how that crazy talent of hers just propelled her into a world that maybe a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old girl wasn't really ready to combat. But thank goodness she did, because that gave us Over the Rainbow and Dear Mr. Gable and Sing Went the Strings of My Heart and so much else just in those first few years of her career.
Yeah, definitely a very fascinating career, and it's great for people to kind of get a look at some of the things outside of Wizard of Oz, as you mentioned, if that's the only thing they know Judy from. And you obviously, John, very passionate about it, and I got to ask, is there something you have coming up next, or maybe something that you're working on?
Well, I'm working on the Chasing Rainbows musical. I'm helping Get TV in their promotion to launch the series. I will be in North Carolina with Chasing Rainbows for 2 weeks of its tech and previews and opening, November, December. I will be involved, I would hope, with the Goodspeed production as well. I'm kind of on the team that goes from venue to venue. I'm going to do a cabaret concert for the holidays. I used to sing full-time, and I'm going back to it with 3 other singers from New York in Brownville, Nebraska, the second weekend in December, because they have a 25-year history of cabaret concerts there. They bring in people from either coast, and that's kind of fun. We're going to do a show based on holiday songs from the movies, which is my own backyard in terms of my taste. And then after the first of the year, there's a potential coffee table book on a non-Oz, non-Garland topic, another Garland book. Who knows? So much of this stuff just keeps generating itself because people see her and fall in love with her and want to know more about her. And as for Oz, it just never quits. Just 2 years ago, we had the James Franco Oz the Great and Powerful prequel movie that grossed $500 million worldwide. So whether you've got Judy Garland or not, Oz is palatable. And whether Judy Garland is singing Over the Rainbow or not, she can devastate you as an entertainer. So whether I'm writing or talking or singing, I'm going to keep on as long as anybody's interested. And I'm lucky to have great topics and great material.
Excellent. Well, again, John, I really appreciate you taking some time out to talk with us today.
Well, I think it's very kind of you to give me and to give Get TV this kind of forum. People can go to get.tv to get the local stations that carry the series, whether it's via cable or antenna. And I hope everybody will tune in Monday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, to see Judy in her first show, reunited with Mickey Rooney, remembering the MGM films, and then Judy taking center stage 5 times in the course of the hour and singing out as only she can. I thank you. This has been a pleasure. Thanks, Dustin.
Again, that was John Fricke. He's the world's preeminent Judy Garland and Wizard of Oz historian.